Currently, a very important event is taking place in Baku, Azerbaijan. It's the Vugar Gashimov Memorial, and it is a strong rapid and blitz event that is taking place. And India's very own Gukesh is playing in that tournament along with some world class players. As you can see in this picture, there is Shakriyar Mamedyarov as well, who is playing there. It has Richard Rapport, Abdusattorov, there is Samuel Shankland, and also very talented Azerbaijani players. Let's have a look at the standings of the rapid event. So the rapid event was a 3-day event, 9 rounds, 10-player event, so it was a round robin. And Nodirbek Abdusattorov proved why he is the current world rapid champion by winning that event with 14 points. But it's actually not an individual event. The rapid is not a standalone event. It is combined with blitz that starts today. So there are going to be 18 rounds of blitz. Although in rapid, each win counts for 2 points, and in blitz, it's 1 point. Gukesh finished at the 8th position with 7 points. He scored 2 wins. He scored wins against Aydin Suleimanli and also against Richard Rapport. And that is a very important win because Richard Rapport's rapid rating when this event began he was ranked number 3 in the world. If you look here at our live ratings from 2700 chess, you will see Richard Rapport lost 25 elo points in this event, so he was about 2800. So that made him world number 3 behind Carlsen and Ding Liren. So he's a very strong rapid player. We're going to look at this game, but also a few words about this tournament. This tournament is held in the memory of Vugar Gashimov, who was one of the best players in the world. Gashimov was born in 1986, and he passed away in 2014. So at a very young age, at just 27 years old, he passed away because of a brain tumor. And his highest ranking was number 6 in the world. That's how good he was. And I'm sure he would have achieved so much more in the world of chess. He's well known to be a very, very sort of tactical, aggressive player. He revived the Benoni defense opening and was very respected in the world of chess. So in his memory, his brother, who is an IM and also was his manager, Sarkhan Gashimov, has organized the Gashimov Memorial since 2014, and this year they organized this in Baku. And you will see that some of the best players in the world have gathered here. This is a picture on the rest day, that was yesterday, where you have Wang Hao, Sam Shankland, Richard Rapport, Vallejo Pons having flowers with them and going to the Alley of Honor where Gashimov has been cremated, and this is where he was buried, and the players went there and paid their respect to him. You can see Wang Hao here. There is also Gukesh, who is putting the flowers. A very, very positive event in the world of chess, remembering this great legend and a great chess player of Azerbaijan who passed away too soon. So now let's go and check the game between Gukesh and Richard Rapport, because that was a very interesting encounter. Gukesh had the black pieces, and his opponent, Richard Rapport, started the game with 1e4. So Gukesh responded with the Caro Kann, knight f3, d5, knight to c3, bishop g4. h3 was played, and now Gukesh took, queen takes, and put his pawn on e6. So once you've given up your light squared bishop, you want to put your pawns on the light square, so your other bishop is active. d3, knight d7, a3. Well, there are sometimes ideas of bishop b4, so that is stopped. Knight f6, g3. And here Gukesh comes up with a very, very interesting move. I think there are some possibilities like g6 also. In such positions, you can put your bishop on g7. I've seen that being played. You can also put your bishop on e7 or d6. But Gukesh played the move h5. And I really like this move. because what he's essentially doing is that he's softening up the dark squares. How is he planning to do that? Look, if you're going to play the most natural move here, bishop g2, that's already an inaccuracy because black goes d4, knight b1, h4. And now you don't want your pawns to be sort of, if I take on g3, you are in trouble because let's say if you take with the queen, your h3 pawn becomes weak. And if you take with the f pawn, then your e5 square is an outpost for my knights. So generally you will go g4. And now with something like bishop d6, already the dark squares are pretty weak. With e5 coming up, then I can play on the dark squares, knight h7, g5, e6, f4, something like that. So this move h5 is definitely worthy of consideration. Bishop e2 played by Richard, and now Gukesh put his bishop on d6, castles, and he went h4. g4 was played, and in came the move d4. So as we saw, that has happened. Knight to b1 was played, and now Gukesh went queen c7. So you will see that he is taking control of this diagonal. c3 played, and Gukesh of course doesn't give up his stronghold in the center. He plays c5, knight to d2, and now the knight jumped into e5. Queen could go to g2 back, but Richard Rapport played queen h1. Maybe he didn't want to be disturbed later on with knight coming to f4 and hitting the queen. So he played his queen to h1, but now Gukesh played another strong move, knight g6, cd, cd. And such positions against Rapport are the most dangerous because you are positionally better, you are outplaying him, but it's like you are almost going to catch the tiger, and when you are about to catch him, he's the most dangerous. And this is the reason why Gukesh had to be ultra careful here. Knight came to c4. He wants to pick up your bishop, but of course Gukesh says, let's exchange these bishops, because once you do that, your dark squares are going to be terribly weak, and also your bishop on e2 is going to be a mess. It's limited by its own pawns. Okay, so this is where Rapport starts showing his class. He plays the move e5, and he just shakes up things. He's like telling Gukesh, okay, do you want to take on e5? You can't do that because your bishop is hanging here. You will lose the game. So a few options for Gukesh. One is that to take the bishop on c1. The other one is to take on e5. Now I wonder why Gukesh did not play this. Actually, this looks like the most natural move. And I think what he was worried about is take, queen takes b7. But I think short castle, and I'm not sure what he missed here. This looks very much better for black. Okay, he didn't take on e5. He played here knight h7. And here Rapport should have given a check. King f8, bishop f4, knight f4. And this is where a very interesting move comes up and very difficult to see. Try to think if you can find this move. White to play. So bishop is hanging, but look at this move. King h2. The point of it is that if you take here, I'm going to play queen to f3 or e4 is also possible. And I'm going to pick up this knight. And it seems like this position is playable for white. Black has to find this only move, knight g3 here. And then after fg, hg, if I take hg, there's maybe knight g5 here. Because otherwise f7 was hanging. And the position remains very, very complicated. So king h2, and if you go knight g5 here, then rook fc1 hits the queen, and then bishop f1, and white is again fine. Okay, so Richard Rapport didn't go for this check. He played the move bishop f3, and now Gukesh found the best move here, which is black to play. Of course, castles, he just doesn't care for this pawn on b7. Who cares about that? So when he took, he went rook a b8, good move. Bishop went back, And now the knight jumped into g5, good move, hitting on e4, looking at h3, b4 played here, and now came bishop c1, rook fc1, and again a very nice move, knight f4, hitting here and also threatening knight e2. The king went to f1, and now for the next move, what did Gukesh play in this position? Again, a very nice move found by Gukesh. You have all your pieces nicely positioned. There's no real good discovered attack that this knight can give. And so the move is f6, opening up the f file. Fantastic if you found this. Because you can take this pawn, bishop g2, it's also playable. But what he did was very, very nice. Knight a5 played, hitting the queen. And here Gukesh went queen f7. Again, the best move. Knight to c6. And perhaps here Gukesh could have given up his rook by taking on h3. It's very natural in such positions to give an exchange sack. But he went rook c8, which is also fine. King e1. And now fe5. Knight takes e5. And now Gukesh went queen f6. White took. Rook takes. Knight to d7. And black played the move here, queen to d8. Maybe if Gukesh had played queen f7 back, knight e5, queen c7, he would have hit the knight, also threatened to enter here. And it's already becoming very dangerous. If knight c4, I have rook f8. And once again, this pawn on h3 is hanging. My rook is doing very well here. So he went queen d8, knight c5. And now queen b6 would have been better. Here Gukesh sort of, I think, under time pressure and also got very excited by this prospect of exchange sacrifice, which is not bad. He's still better. Check. And now it's important. Like if you go king f1, let's say you just put your king here. Then after queen takes c5, black, as we saw, has very strong control on the dark squares here and also controlling all the light squares. This is the thing about the knight. They sit on dark squares but control all the light squares. This is better. He went king d1, which is more combative, and Gukesh could have played the move queen b5. I think with this, he would have put a lot of pressure on his opponent because, yeah, my threat is queen b2. Let's say, for example, you go queen h2, trying to put pressure here. I have many ways to win, especially queen b3 check, and let's say king c1, knight e2 check. And this is almost going to be mate very soon with my knight and queen. So king d1, he took on h3. This allowed Richard Rapport's queen to come in with queen e1. And he's fighting back now. Queen c5. He played queen d2. And now Gukesh went queen d6. Rook b1. The position has become very complicated. Queen takes a3. Queen c2. And now queen c3. A queen trade is offered, and if the queens were taken, the endgame still remains complex. And I don't think black has any risk here, but I think white should be able to hold this to a draw. It does look scary for white, but with accurate play, it's equal. Queen a2 played. King f7. Rook c1. Queen b4. Now rook came to c4. Rook came up. He put his queen back. Rook c6. Queen b8. Rook c4. And king moved up to f6. Slowly, black is consolidating. Rook takes d4. And he played queen b6. Queen came to a1, attacking, defending the rook. Also looking at the king. Knight takes f2. Very, very strong. Because it's a check. King e1, and now came this important intermediate move e5. King e1 was the crucial error. If he had played king c2, e5 and rook a4, the position still remains playable for white. But with king on e1 and e5, now the problem is that if you move the rook, the queen is getting into e3. And so after, let's say, rook a4, check, 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 it's already a mate coming up. So he had to play g5, but then after king g5, rook d5, check here. Richard Rapport resigned and Gukesh managed to score a win here, a very important win. And with this, Gukesh won against one of the best players in the world. So, as we said, this is not the end of the Gashimov Memorial 2022. We are at the midway mark. The rapid segment has been completed. Today, the blitz will start. Do let me know in the comment section, what do you think about Gukesh's chances in the blitz? If he manages to play well and pick up some points, he can finish in the top, but covering a distance of 7 points between him and Nodirbek is not going to be easy. We'll wait and watch. For now, this is Sagar Shah signing off, remembering the great Vugar Gashimov. Bye bye.